Is primary election day, and the race for Erie City Mayor is on everyone's mind. We have election coverage you can count on tonight. Good evening, I'm Mike Russo.
And I'm Philip Ford. Thanks for joining us tonight for Erie News Now at 7.
And a little bit of a different format tonight because we have Dr. Joe Morris from Mercyhurst University and Dr. Jeffrey Bloodworth from Gannon to talk about the big race that's happening tonight. Jeffrey, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on incumbent Joe Schember, two people running against him tonight. How's this going to play out?
I thought that Daria Devlin has a shot at an upset if there was a high turnout. We're not hearing reports of a high turnout, so I'm curious to see what the Democratic base thinks. But that's not a good sign for the challenger with a low turnout.
Joe, how about for you?
Yeah, that's just a kind of a standard rule in political science. When we watch elections, low turnout does not provide any sort of advantage for the challenger. Having said that, in these elections, when we do have such a small number of people voting, 50 votes can mean the difference between victory and defeat. So, we're going to have to wait and see.
Doctor, I was listening to you yesterday, and you talked about these local elections matter so much. These are the people who are going to influence your life more than anyone else.
Yeah, especially in today's environment when the national government is pulling back not only funding, but also the kind of oversight and services that they've provided for decades, leaving communities like Erie to fend for itself. The importance of having a really entrepreneurial leaders who can go out and find the resources the community needs is absolutely vital.
And something too, Dr. Jeffrey Bloodworth, I'll go to you, is these are the people, you see in your neighborhood. You can go up, you can talk to them and say, hey, I have grief about something, help me change it.
Yeah, every other person in Erie has a Joe Schember story, right? And if it's going to be Mayor Devlin 5 years from now, it'll be every other person in Erie will have a Devlin story. These are people that we know, you can talk to, you can complain to them, right? You can talk about snow removal. This stuff, as Dr. Morris is saying, this affects our lives even more than it used to now that Washington is pulling back.
What do you think about the fact that there was a lot of advertising for this race, very aggressive approach by one candidate against another? Daria Devlin was aggressive in making her points against the incumbent Joe Schember. So how does that play out tonight? How much of an impact did that have?
You would think it might have spurred some turnout, especially Democrats who are upset about Trump. I expected to see maybe a small bump in turnout because of that. I think people might be burned out a little bit on politics. That's my mother even told me last night, didn't we just vote?
There you go.
And asked, talk to me in 4 years when you can vote for the president. And this is just a sign of the times. As Dr. Morris was saying, so much of our lives are affected by local politics, but everything is national now,
yes.
Which is not a healthy sign.
Dr. Morris, is it so much that the current incumbent, Joe Schember, has he done enough to lose this primary election?
It's a tough question. The Democratic Party particularly is in a bit of turmoil. And if we look at the national level, for example, their leaders are really searching for a path forward. Who are we as a party, they're asking. And I think some of that is also going on at the local level where Democrats are kind of feeling around and saying maybe there's a different path forward. And we call these time for change elections. And this may be one of those at the local level for us. We'll have to wait and see.
This is really like Michigan and Ohio State, only these two guys get along fantastically. So, Joe, we heard Dr. Bloodworth talk about political election exhaustion. You feel the same way? Felt like 3 days ago we had the presidential election.
Yeah, and I think most Americans feel that way. I can't tell you how many people that I've talked with in my neighborhood that have told me they just don't watch news anymore. These were people who were avid news watchers before the 2024 election, but today just turn it off and don't watch the national politics. Having said that, we still encourage people, obviously, to follow the news. It's incredibly important, but if we're talking about politics, there's really no way to avoid having to fulfill a civic responsibility like voting. You have to get the information.
All right, gentlemen, we got about an hour, less than an hour now till polls close. Who ends up victorious in the end here, Doctor?
I think Schember's going to, I've always thought 65-35 chance that Schember is going to pull this out. She has more than a puncher's chance, Daria Devlin, but I think Schember.
What about for you, Doctor, real quick?
Well, you may know I've given up making predictions.
That's
a long
right.
time.
I tried on the earlier shows.
But I will tell you that incumbents typically have the advantage in these types of elections. So you may be right.
Yeah. Man, is that phenomenal? We get Dr. Jeff Bloodworth and Dr. Joe Morris.
It's a tag team. They're wearing the belts.
Phenomenal. You know what else is phenomenal?
I know it's coming
Is he
up.
on the screen? I'm not looking yet. Is he up there?
No.
He's coming. All right, hold on.